The apes of Simeon assemble in their family tree to celebrate the arrival of two sons to the ruler of monkeys. King Simeon governs many apes in an ancient tree located in the savannah desert. Vladimir, the king's loyal advisor, informs the king that there is an issue. It seems that the queen had delivered two sons rather than just one. The initial monkey prince is quite small and frail, while the second monkey appears robust and fit. As the little monkey emerged first, he is the immediate successor to the throne. The monkey sorceress comes and tells the king to eliminate the little prince, as he is an ill omen. She claims he is a blunder by nature, and the apes will never acknowledge him as their prince. The king gives the baby to Vladimir to deal with the monkey while the queen rests. The queen searches for her little ones when she awakens and has the king vow that he will look after them, and she passes away after that. King Simeon presents the crown prince, Vanya, the robust and fit monkey, to the apes of the realm. Vladimir brings the frail monkey to a cliff to toss it into the jaws of the wolf. The kid holds on to Vladimir's hands, making him have a shift in feelings for a moment. Yet Vladimir's loyalty is with the king, so he tosses the monkey and departs. At the same time, the frail monkey didn't drop straight into the wolf's mouth, but was clinging to a vine. The wolf finally breaks the vine and bites one of its paws. Before the wolf can cause complete harm to the baby, a proboscis monkey rescues it. The infant cannot walk like a monkey because its right arm has been damaged by the wolf's bite. So its rescuer, who is named Ian, lets him ride on his back. The frail monkey is now a grown ape called Edward. He continues to ride on Ian's back since one arm isn't functional anymore, and the arm stays in his loincloth throughout the film. They are close friends who interact playfully and care for one another, and they stay distant from the other apes. Ian has a speaking issue, so he cannot express himself correctly. In his small shed, Edward is searching for some figs that he stored in a spot hidden by leaves. He requests it from Ian, but the ape feigns ignorance, and a dispute begins. Edward discovers a mouse and understands that the mouse consumed his food. He begins to chase it around, but cannot grab it with one arm. He finds the tree sap and intends to use it as a trap for the mouse, but horn noises divert him. The horn signals the start of Cocoa Ball, a game that Ian and Edward enjoy. Ian is hesitant to leave, as the two are frequently treated unfairly by the other apes. Edward persuades him to join, and they find a spot in a branch to observe the games. The monkeys swinging from vines throw the ball, targeting a goal shot into the mouth of a skull, and the ball is a coconut. Vanya is the initial one to score and is cheered by the crowd. A new match starts, but it gets halted when Ian attempts to grab the ball, only to tumble forward with it and dislodge the plates from their vines in the process. The ball rebounds and drops into a hole. The pirates get angry and encircle Ian to attack him, but Edward comes up with an idea quickly. He utilizes tree sap to remove the ball. The strange primates come together around Edward, inquiring about how he performed the magic. But Vanya arrives and grabs the ball from Edward. Vanya attempts to toss the ball, but his hand is glued to it by the tree sap. The other primates attempt to remove him from it, but they also become trapped. The disorder concludes when the ball soars out of their grasp and lands on King Simeon's head. Vladimir attempts to remove it, but yanks a clump of hair in the process. The king seeks to identify the wrongdoer, but is thrown about by Vladimir and his relative, Sergei. The witch saw Edward and inquired of Vladimir if he got rid of the child as requested, and Vladimir admits that he did toss the child aside. She intimidates him and sends him away to seek a resolution. However, Vanya overheard their conversation and confronts his father about the chance of another ape seizing the throne from him. King Simeon vows to take action regarding it. Edward and Ian are in their home, debating about the white mountains Ian constantly dreams of. Sergei and Marcel arrive at the king's command. They inform Edward that he has been called by the king. Before the king, Edward faces accusations of using sorcery. Edward clarifies once more that it is not sorcery, but a couple of tricks he found out, and goes on to demonstrate a few of those tricks to the king. He creates a crown from leaves and forms a mirror by pouring water into a leaf. The king sees his reflection for the first time and is amazed by his facial features. Edward creates a swing for the king and continues speaking to him. They are unexpectedly assaulted by a horde of bugs conjured by the witch. King Simeon is pushed off the swing, and Edward is blamed for attempted murder by the witch. Vanya commands that he be tossed off the cliff, and Ian can only stand by and observe. King Simeon ascends and asks who pushed Edward off the cliff. Vanya claims he attempted to kill him, but King Simeon blames Vanya for the death of another Simeon. Edward wakes up to find he was tossed from the tree. Ian is dangling from a vine, but it is too elevated for Edward to grab. He departs from Ian and strolls into the desert. He spots two huge ostriches and attempts to snatch a cluster of grapes hanging from one ostrich's beak. During this journey, he discovers how to stand on 2 feet like they do. A group of wolves shows up and the three must flee. Edward initially runs in reverse but observes how the ostriches move. He begins to run ahead and feels glad that he can now go quickly, and his one arm will no longer be a burden to him. The other monkeys watch him sprinting and encourage him. The three of them dash into a field full of rhinos and get by them, until the rhinos notice the wolves approaching and begin to flee. Now Edward is fleeing from the rhinos and the wolves. Edward arrives at the end of the trail and the rhinos begin to tumble like armadillos. Noticing that Edward is on the verge of being crushed by those rhinos, King Simeon leaps in and attempts to rescue him. He defends against a few of them but leaps in front of Edward when he notices that he is about to be smashed. The turmoil subsides and King Simeon is severely hurt from the battle. Vanya approaches them with a vine to assist Simeon in backing up. King Simeon informs Edward that he is his dad before he passes away. Vanya removes Simeon's body and tells Edward not to think of themselves as brothers. Vanya is named king, and he lets go of Vladimir for not fulfilling his responsibility to eliminate Edward. Sergei assumes Vladimir's duties, and the moment for Vanya to select a wife comes. Rather than choosing a wife, Vanya announces that all the apes will be at his command, and he has complete control over all of them. A storm begins, and Vladimir is turned away by all the apes. The tempest turns fierce and a tornado emerges. Edward finds Lucy in the tornado and falls for her. He runs after her and they become pals. Edward shows her how to stand on 2 feet and they find fire from a volcano. Thrilled, Edward brings a piece of the flame to the apes and discusses it. They do not greet him and throw stones at him on the commands of Vanya. Disheartened, Edward departs with Lucy. He drives a wolf away from its den with the fire and relaxes in the cave with Lucy. The other apes observe Lucy and Edward as they learn to grab fruit, hunt rabbits, and other small creatures. Edward has also mastered the control of the wolf. The apes abandon Vanya and the family tree when they can no longer withstand the hunger. The sorceress calls upon the tree spirit to scare the monkeys. However, a young ape named Diego chooses to pursue the sound, and they find out that there is no spirit of the tree. It has all been the sorceress. She attempts to remove him, but he is rescued and discloses the truth. The monkeys depart from the tree and go to Edward and Lucy's cave. Gisela, a female monkey who has always cared for Vanya, chooses to remain behind. Lucy does not greet the apes after what they did to her and Edward. The monkeys speak to Edward and ask him to intervene for them. They assure to just eat and leave, so Lucy permits them entry. And they feast and they don't leave. They hold a celebration in the cave. That evening, Vanya and Gisela look on with sorrowful expressions. They keep observing for months as the apes create a new village for themselves. Lucy and Edward are wed and looking forward to a son. They choose to name the child after Edward's buddy Ian. In the meantime, the witch has been scheming vengeance on the apes for leaving the ancestral tree. Lucy relaxes at home while Edward assists the other villagers with the building tasks. And all the monkeys now walk on 2 feet like Edward. They are now able to search for their own meals and Diego can create lifelike drawings. A dispute occurs between Sergei and the new primates seeking refuge. Sergei claims there's no refuge and expels them. Edward attempts to calm them down. But while he does that, a grasshopper invades the village and ruins everything they've been building. Sergei and the monkeys are sure that the witch is to blame for the chaos, so they pursue her. Lucy advises Edward to rescue Vanya before the crowd reaches the tree. Edward shouts for Vanya, but he doesn't answer. The group reaches the tree and Vanya steps out from concealment. The monkeys vow to release him if he provides them with the tree. However, he assures them that they can leave unharmed if they depart by themselves. Gisela attempts to protect the king, but Sergei commands the apes to attack Vanya. Vanya resists, but he is overwhelmed. Edward is also prevented from interfering. Sergei instructs the apes to slice open the tree and ignite it. and Edward rescues Gisela before the tree explodes. Yet he is stuck beneath a flaming branch. He shouts to Vanya, who agrees and assists Edward. The two escape before the trees explode. Then the witch stays in the tree and perishes with it. When they arrive, the entire area is filled with smoke. The tree is completely charred and there's nothing remaining for the apes. Vanya and Edward resolve their disagreements and disclose their connection to the apes. Sergei attempts to create chaos among the apes. However, Edward, with Vanya's assistance, brings the apes to order. He informs them that there is optimism for them and discusses the realm beyond the White Mountains. The monkeys trail the birds to the White Mountains, and they find a realm full of lush trees, water, and towering mountains. The monkeys are thrilled, and Edward spots Ian once more. Lucy observes the two friends twirl around and grins.